Hey guys, welcome back. Now we're going to go through the important ideas from the lesson we just went over. And I think the biggest thing you may have noticed is that I was really specific about writing out 4 steps. And this is going to be something you're going to see repeat itself for the rest of the school year. So learning target 1, today's the first time I'm going to introduce this idea of a 4-step process. Okay. Now, what do they mean? So if you see in the instructions, they say, please use the 4-step process. What they're asking you to do is state, plan, do, and conclude. Sounds official, doesn't it? State, plan, do, and conclude. So if you do not state or plan or do or conclude, if you skip a step, you cannot get a complete answer. So we want to make sure we get complete answers and all our points so we can get college credit because we're awesome. So what is it that you're usually asked to state? We have to state the parameter they've asked us. So it's kind of like just rewriting the question. And we should state the confidence level. And we did that. So a minute ago, we stated it was a 95% confidence level, and our parameter is the proportion of the planet that's water. Now, what's my plan? Well, I'm going to name the procedure I'm going to use. So we will be learning multiple procedures, and you want to just name them. Name the procedure used. The other thing you have to do is you list out the conditions. So this gets pretty redundant. Most of the conditions are similar. And so lots of kids like that because they can kind of rack up points that they got all their condition points. All right, do. So we want to list out general and specific formulas that we are using. And then we actually plug the numbers in. And so math teachers call this do, show your work. You're in a math class. So make sure you show your work. Plug in your numbers. And in this instance, we're going to show that final interval. So you saw that that was my last step kind of mathematically with my calculator. Calculating that interval from, I took 0.53 plus 0.12 and 0.53 minus 0.2, and I created that last interval. So that final interval was the last part of the do. And then the conclusion is this interpretation part. And we always want to do it in the context of the problem. So it sounds like our script. We are 95% confident that blah, blah, blah. That's our conclusion. All right. Now this does 2 things. It helps me grade it because it's like a rubric. I can go, yep, they gave me this, the conditions, they plugged in their numbers, they found the final interval, and they made their conclusion. Beautiful. They are awesome. Okay, what was another learning target we picked up on? We're going to be using hold on a second. We're going to be using, actually, hold on, I grabbed the wrong piece of paper here. I did. All right, we'll save that for class. How about that? Okay. So now let's work through these problems with the time remaining. I think that's good. Okay. So Sleep Awareness Week begins in the spring. Oh, I see what I'm doing. I meant to write this on the back of 8.2. That's what's throwing me off here. Okay, that's fine. This box, you see what I'm talking about? Hopefully you see what I'm talking about. Okay, yeah, I meant to write it on this sheet. So you're putting that in this box. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so you're gonna put that learning target there. The other thing I was hoping to go over, and we're gonna actually go over this in class when you get back, is a second item. So if you could jot down this, and we will stop there for this evening. choosing a sample size. So this would be pretty useful if you were doing some research. You're like, oh, Ms. Kruzmark, how big should I make my sample size? So when you guys come back to class, we're going to use this formula that we can calculate the margin of error if we have our z star times our standard error. We used this formula before, remember? But let's say I had a specific margin of error I was shooting for. So again, imagine your boss says, okay, I like what you came up with here. You've told me some good information, but I was hoping that your margin of error, your plus or minus, was a lot narrower. And so we learned before, well, that's fine if you want it narrower, but you're going to have to increase the n. So algebra would allow us to solve for n if I had a specific margin of error I would like. So if we're going to be practicing that next class, we can solve for n if we want, and that would be useful in the field if I wanted a specific margin of error I was shooting for. So a couple things, rules of thumb we'll practice. We always want to round up here because we want to be conservative. Okay, so we're always going to round up when we solve for n. Hopefully that makes sense, that if you stopped and rounded down, then you were just shy of enough people. Okay, and having one extra person in your survey is not bad, but having one less could be a problem. What else? If P is unknown, and a lot of times it is unknown, then if it's totally unknown and you have no idea, we're going to use by default P hat of a 0.5 or 1/2. Once again, this would produce the biggest number of n, and that would be the most conservative. Okay, that's it. So this is where we're going to start when we come back from class. So on 122, when we come back from class, we're actually going to work through some of these problems together. It's going to be fun. Now, not these problems though. Remember, I dorked this up and I wrote it in the wrong box. So you should be writing this information in the box for 8.2 day 2, and I'll see you next time.